welcome once again to Senior Focus. I'm your host, Bill Adams. Senior Focus is a show for adults over the age of about 50 or so, and we come to you on Armstrong's Channel 20 and 100. Thanks to Greg Roten from Armstrong, who brings the show to you, puts it on the air. And if you happen to miss any of the shows, they're on demand on Armstrong and also on YouTube. So you can just go to YouTube and enter Senior Focus and Armstrong Cable. Today we're going to be talking about something that I think everybody watching has probably been to. It's the Canfield Fair. And we're going to be talking with two gentlemen who are uniquely involved in this and have a long history with the fair. First is Andy Frost, who's the president of the board, and Dave Dickey, who is the vice president. Welcome.
Thank you.
And why don't we just start off with, if you each want to talk about your how long you've been associated with the board and what you do in your roles as a president and vice president.
Well, I've been associated with the fair for probably 35 years in one way or another. I had concessions here for 25 years, and then it was a break away from the fair for a while, but then I applied to be on the board and was asked to be on the board, and I was just thrilled when I came through and I came on. And basically, I came on the board to take care of fire and EMS since my last career was in the fire service.
Right, with Austintown.
With Austintown, correct. And so that was what I was here for, but then I also was handed the medical building and the international building, so in the Red Cross. So I mean, we all have a lot of things that we run around here like crazy people during the fair, but I think we all enjoy it. And the one thing that I've been able to do is meet some very nice people on this board. It consists of 17 directors, and they're just awesome people. The people that were here when I got on and when I currently, because we had some changes, but I guess I've probably been on the board for 14 years maybe, something like that, 14 years. And Dave came in right after I did. And
6 months after you.
Yeah, so I mean, so we're both here about the same amount of time, and it's fun working together, fun working with all these people, because everybody here, it's love for the fair.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how much goes into it, but I mean, you guys, start the day after probably the last fair? Is that fair?
We'll be starting next week for next year.
Yeah.
No, it's ongoing, year round for us.
How about yourself?
I as one of the 17 directors, I'm in charge of the educational building, and I work with George Roman and Frank Payden, and we do concession rides and games.
Okay.
So that takes up, we start on those probably in January. In fact, we get deposits from the concessionaires the day of the fair starts. They give they have a good day, they can come in and bring us a deposit for next year already.
Wow.
And so like you said, it's a year-round it's a year-round fairgrounds. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Well, and you mentioned concessions and the rides? Is that?
And the games.
And the games. Well, that's a big part of the fair, isn't it?
Big part.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It generates a lot of income for us, and when you have 400 to 500,000 people here, you have to feed and hydrate them. They have to be fed and hydrated. So the concessionaires are a very important part of our fair also.
Now, you also have staff? You've got a manager here at the office?
Yeah, we have a fair manager, we have a administrative aide they're both full-time. We have a fiscal officer who's full-time. And those are the three really full-time people that we have who work here. Then we have people who work in our maintenance department, and some of them are almost full-time, but not quite. They during the wintertime, they slack off, and the crew cuts way back to maybe one or two people.
Sure, just to keep...
and that's it, yeah. And then other than that, everything else is pretty much volunteer. I mean, there's thousands of people here working at the fair who volunteer.
Right.
It's just they know the fair's coming, and they just come out of the woodwork.
We consider it a major city in the state of Ohio during those 10 days of the fair. Basically, we have the fair 7 days, but it takes us 3 to 4 weeks before and a couple weeks after just to break it down. So just for example, the electricity, we use enough electricity for a small city. We have over 100
right.
transformers, and we have to maintain that and make sure that the lights stay on. But our electric bills run in hundreds of thousands of dollars in that 1 week. So, and you can imagine how much water and sewage. And I think that we had one time they told us that there was 167,000 rolls of toilet paper we stocked at the fair with. So
Oh, boy.
it's another important part of the fair.
Oh, you don't want to forget about that, yeah. Why don't we talk about this year's fair and some details about what's coming up for 2016, when it starts, and some of the details again for this year.
Well, I think anybody we see throughout the course of the year, they always say, "Who's the entertainment this year? Who's the entertainment this year?" And I think that is a great big part of the fair. But there's so much other than that that's a big part of the fair. But maybe we can get into that a little later, because I guess something I want
sure.
to brag about a little bit if I could.
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
That thing. But the entertainment this year, I think we start out with on Wednesday.
Happy Together.
Dave can probably.
Yeah, Happy
he's
Together.
good,
The Happy Together tour is on Wednesday,
Okay.
and then Thursday we have. I believe it's the track.
Is that a hailstorm?
Yeah, Hailstorm. I'm sorry, that's Hailstorm on
Yeah.
Thursday, and then Friday we have the tractor pull or
That's right,
the demo derby. Then we have the tractor pull on Saturday, and then on Sunday we have Good News,
Which is a gospel group.
gospel group,
Mhm.
and then we have on Sunday the statewide demolition derby again. So it's action packed every night.
And again, it's always Labor Day, so that's the first week of September, basically,
Yeah, well, it starts on the 31st this year.
31st of August,
It
yeah.
runs through Labor Day, and it changes. It's always around there. Last year Labor Day was late, so it started after the 31st. And I think it was from September 1st, 2nd last year, but it starts August 31st this year.
And the sales are starting to get brisk on all the shows. So they can go online. We have you can get any ticket you want online, and so it seems to be a big popular demand. So we need to fill the stands.
Well, that actually brings in a lot of money for the fair, right? The shows that you have and the things you were just talking about.
We spend as a fair board, we spend a lot of money to
bring 'em in.
To bring 'em
Oh,
in.
boy.
And we're hoping that we get walk-ins, and but it is if we break even. Our forefathers in the past said if we break even on the shows, then we've done good. But we always like to make a couple of dollars on it. But if we feel one year we did not have a show on Sunday or on Monday, and our attendance was down 54,000 people. So
Oh, boy.
so it does draw. The vendors want us to have the biggest shows, and of all the county fairs in Ohio, we have the biggest shows that are out there.
Well, I was going to ask about that. I've always heard, and I think it's correct, that this is basically the biggest county fair in the state. Does that make sense?
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is
Because
correct.
I've been to the Ohio State Fair, and there were days back, when I was younger, where the Canfield Fair would rival the State Fair, for size.
Right. But the state fair is a few more days, and so
Right.
And all the fairs are all acreage wise. Canfield has 333 acres, or maybe 353 acres. But we have so size wise, we are one of the largest fairs. But they usually use the attendance as a barometer of how many who's has the most. Or the largest county fair.
Right.
So our attendance is hovering around between 400 and 500,000, 3 to 4 to 500,000.
Which is actually more than the entire county population.
Correct.
Well, it's almost combined Trumble, Mahoning, or,
Yeah, it is. It comes from all over.
we get them all over the place, and if our Facebook page is last time I heard, I think there was like 33,000 people on that. So I don't know. It's a lot of people. So.
Well, and again, this is, well, maybe at this point you want to talk about, you talked a little bit about your own history, but you both worked, when you were younger, at different things at the fair. You want to talk about that a little bit?
If you don't mind, Andy, I'll go first. Bill, when every year, the fair ended our summer because the day after the fair ended, we went back to school. So my mother would take all 7 of us kids, and we'd get in a car, and we'd go to Lustig's downtown, get our shoes, and then we had to buy our book supplies, and then we'd come out and meet my dad at the fair.
Right.
And we'd have lunch and dinner. We'd always have to go to Greenford Rutan for the chicken dinner because we weren't allowed to eat all those hot dogs and everything else, French fries all day long. So we'd go to that way. But then my dad, he worked at the fair for the Beaver Rutan. And Rutan used to take the tickets for all the rides. And we had a group called Ken Penn, and Ken Penn, the fair board would take the money and they would provide the people in the ticket booths. And it was all volunteer. So my dad was head of that for many years until he became on a board and we decided to use Bates. But at 10 years old, I used to be able to take a bag of money and walk through the fair, all the back roads and everywhere else, and collect the money from the ticket booths and take them to the bank for where, at the time, Roy Bowman was the director, in charge of the bank. So we've been at this fair for a long time, and it's a tradition, and that's what's so. Andy touched on it earlier about the directors. It's a tradition that we are providing for the public because there's so many people that remember their first day at the fair, whatever, or when they met somebody at the fair. But the point I want to make is the directors, every one of them have their long-rooted tradition in this fair, and they want to continue it forever.
Right. And Andy, how about you?
Well, I remember coming to the fair as a small kid. Now, I was probably 10 years old, 11 years old, something like that, maybe even a little older than that. But I had 5 brothers, so there were 6 of us when we come to the fair, and my parents would bring us out here. Now, again, like Dave said, the parents didn't want you eating all the food that's out there,
Sure, yeah.
which is good stuff. But they didn't have the money for that.
Right.
So, and that goes right along with one of the things I want to talk about was the fact that you can come to this fair, pay your admission, and there's discounts on so many days for kids and seniors and.
Well, yeah, and if I could just interject, there is a discount for seniors on a couple days, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's.
You know what they are? I'm like.
And I don't know what they are this year. I have to
think
talk to
it
Tim
might be
Driver in
Thursday.
charge of gates. And
Yeah.
Sorry not to have the information for you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. People can call to the
Yes.
fair and, yeah.
But once you come to the fair, you don't have to spend $1,000. You know what I mean? You can come through this fair. There's so many free things. Starting from it is an agricultural fair.
Right.
We all forget that sometimes. Start with the animals that there, all the free exhibits and art exhibits and the medical bill and the international bill. All that stuff is just free to go into. You go see the cows and watch the milk cows do all that. And that's what we did. We didn't spend money on French fries and hot dogs and hot sausage sandwiches, although we would like to have,
Right.
But then came time for dinner and lunch, we'd go back to the car, and there's a picnic in the trunk. We'd sit down and put our blankets
did
down,
too.
and that was kind of the tradition. So
Sure.
the fair is for all people, and you don't have to spend a ton of money. I
Right.
mean, the regular admission is $8, but boy, you get a whole lot for that $8. You don't even have to pay to park.
Right.
And park
Yeah,
is
and
free.
you have the trailers or the
Shuttles.
shuttles that bring
Shuttles,
people.
yeah. It's just so easy and convenient to come to the fair, But that's kind of my story in the fair, and we started a concession business, and it was successful for 25 years, and we just got tired of doing it. It was hard, a lot of hard work. You're here early in the morning, and in lieu of our vendors just discussing what they do. I mean, they're here at probably 6, 7 in the morning, and they go home at maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. So I mean,
Right.
they work.
18-hour.
Oh, they work round the clock almost, and honestly, whatever they make, they really deserve it. But
Well, in terms of talking about what you get for your money and all the free things, I mean, you have these exhibits. I've gone through almost every building, I think, over time. And we've done shows over on Senior Focus about like art programs and things like that. So I know that the seniors who like to do art, they have their exhibits here. You have the children, grade school, high school level.
the educational building.
Yeah, you have the educational building, you have the flowers, you have all the produce.
The antique tractor show. It's up on southeast corner. It draws a lot of people.
it
And
does.
if you're there at the right time, they make steamed popcorn, which is really good. Out of
Oh.
the steam engine, they pop popcorn
Okay.
with steam engines. But there's always a nice. The historical society puts a nice. Really, it's 3 or 4 gentlemen that put together an antique tent down there that every year it's different. It's nothing the same. And then we have Western Reserve Village, which is a real asset to our fairgrounds.
Right.
It's the first thing you see on Route 46, and it's beautiful with the train. And so, I mean, and I have to agree with Andy. There is a lot of items in here for free. So, and you got to take advantage of it.
So it's 170 years old this year, is that right?
170 years old. Right?
Does it look a day over what?
Yeah, right.
70, and we were talking about how it's grown over the years. I mean, just it was much smaller, obviously, at the beginning, but how many acres you said?
There's 353 acres right now, and a lot of it's reserved for parking. But we go from Route 46 all the way to Route 11.
Okay.
Our property goes all the way to Route 11, and we have express lanes coming into the fair. And sometimes people say, why do we have to go in that place and it takes so long? Well, it's not the problem about getting in; it's the people that have to get out.
Right.
So it has to be, all the traffic control is done by our directors and volunteers, and our law enforcement officers that are hired for that during that fair. But the thing that's amazing is if you forgot where you put your car, we go to the main parking attendants and we go. They came in at 10 o'clock and they said, "Well, we parked that in green." And
Oh, they could tell you where
we could tell
okay.
exactly at what time they came in, and because when everybody comes out, they say, "Well, there was trailers out there." Well, there's trailers everywhere. So all they have to do is we get them in that general direction. They hit their fob on their keychain, and the horn starts beeping, and we get right to their spot. So it works out real well.
And we run into a lot, like, we usually have golf carts that we probably put 1,000 miles a year on because I go from one end of the fair to the other with EMS and stuff. We'll go back and forth.
Right.
And Dave with the concessions is like, if you see a guy with a red shirt and maybe just starting to get a little balding on the top, flying down the thing, it's probably him going down to a problem somewhere at a concession stand that they got to run out and take care of. And the same thing with us with the EMS. But we have different routes that we can get around. We know how we can go on the outer perimeter to get to the other side of the fair if we have to, and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of work that's went into that. And if I could just brag a little bit about what
sure.
I want to tell you now, I do the fire and EMS and the Red Cross, and I work very close with the police department, which, by the way, we have our own police department here. It's a bona fide police department, Canfield Fair
I didn't
Police
know.
Department, yes. We have a police chief, and he has officers under him. We employ over 100 security officers here during the course of the fair. Plus, we also employ sheriff's deputies. We employ highway patrol for our traffic control. But we developed maybe about 8 years ago now, we developed a dispatch system here in the fair. If anybody has an emergency, and you'd be interested to hear this, especially for the older folks, and we get a lot of that. Some of the heat, they come out here, and they really get into staying here too long maybe, and they get overheated, and they'll call us. We try to get them into the Red Cross. We have 2 facilities.
Okay.
One is air conditioned and cool them down if we can. But the other thing is, if there's an emergency, you dial 911 just like you would if you were home, and the people really need to know that. you know.
Okay.
And that goes to the Canfield Dispatch Center. In turn, is brought right back to our dispatch center here at the fairgrounds immediately, and either a small ambulance or a policeman will be dispatched. And I'm very happy to say that our average response time in our ambulances to anybody down in this fair, during the fair, is 3 minutes.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
But we have it covered with, there's 3 to 4 of those little, they're actually golf cart ambulances they see running around.
Right.
And there's a paramedic on each one of them. And they could either treat the people there, or they have to bring them in. They can bring them into the Red Cross. If they have to go to the hospital, we ship them to the hospital from there.
Right.
But it's a whole system we've developed here for the safety of the people that come here, and that's big, especially for the senior citizens. Because
Right.
and I do need to tell them also, if it's a real hot day, you might want to think about another day, or
Right.
or drink a lot of water. Keep yourself
hydrated.
Yeah,
Right.
that's for sure.
Right. Well, I think somebody brought up, maybe it was Andy, about I'm not sure, it was Andy or Dave, about being lost or something being lost. But it reminded me of when we were lost as kids, it was always go to the big rock. So
The sound tower.
Yeah.
the sound tower.
Or the big rock.
Do you want to talk just a minute or two about the history of some of the, again, the sound tower, the big rock, and those things?
Well, the big rock is over 50 tons. And of course, every concession vendor wants right by the big rock.
Right.
Because that's where people do yearly. That's where they meet. They
Right.
meet by the big rock. The sound tower, we did discontinue that. We still use it for emergencies, but we discontinued it because, remember, there's some lewd and crude messages that was sent across for everybody here. But
Well,
but
there's-
it was like.
Yeah.
So and so come to the sound tower. That you heard that for years when we were growing up. But now we do use it for emergency uses only, and so we could drop it in. The one thing that to go along with being lost, if sometimes little kids just wander off, or sometimes it's all bigger kids just wander off.
Right, you get separated.
Parents.
And we get
Right.
separated. So what happens is if you go to the closest police officer, he will make a call, and we have a camera system on the grounds. And if you tell me where you were, they usually can track and find whoever got lost, whether it's an adult or whether it's a child.
Right.
So it's pretty. I mean, the police officers on the grounds, like Andy said, there's hundreds of them. They are there to help you, and they will help. They're more than willing to help anybody who just go up and talk to them.
Sure.
So they're great.
Well, we talked earlier about the food, and that's always my favorite.
Yeah, all of us.
Yes.
Besides the literally hundreds of vendors, you've also got breakfast and lunch at places.
Yes.
Do you want to just maybe describe what those options are? The sit-down meals.
Yeah, the Austintown Methodist Church, that's
Community church.
Community church is right outside the fair office here, and they're open every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
And it's a sit down, and they have fans, and it's cool area. There's and that's on the north end. There's several smaller venues throughout the fair, and it's under tents.
Right.
But if you want a good breakfast, there's a good breakfast. There's a lot of good breakfasts out through here. Every year we kind of look for that unique item that they came up. I mean, one year we had chocolate covered bacon, and that went over real good, And then you always have the puff burger, which is 2 meatballs on a stick, and there's and of course Primavera's stuffed hot pepper. And they had a sandwich over last year that you got to stop over and see it. They're down on Miller, and it was like a $20 sandwich, but you got 3 meals in that one sandwich.
For the whole day.
For the whole day, it was good for. And then, but we do have, of course, the Russo sausage been here for years. We've had the Jack Richardson and his family's been here for years with the French fries. You can't go anywhere. But what we do as a concession, we tried not to congregate all of them in one spot. We tried to mix them up so they're not competing against a guy across the street.
Sure.
But everybody has hot dogs and dogs on a stick, and everybody has French fries. Well, we find out that most people will gravitate through the fair with their food. So if they want to get a sausage sandwich, they go to the stand that's down by the educational building. In the meantime, they stop and see the floral. They stop and see the art and crafts, and they eat themselves around the fair, which is great.
Well, one thing, on your website, you have this, it's like a 90-page book
Yeah.
of all the information about the fair. And again, what's fascinating to me, not living on a farm, are all the things you have for animals and for the kids, the 4-H. Do you want to talk a minute or two about some of the things that
The 4-H is something that the fair is built on. That's what it's been. We call it the junior fair.
Right.
And, geez, I don't know how many kids are involved. It's got to be hundreds of kids are involved. There's a king and queen every year that they have. And they have so many of those animal projects over there that, from rabbits to roosters to pigs to cows, they have it all. And they have special projects. And some of them raise animals to be sold at our auction that we have. And it's awesome, and those are just the kids. But along with the kids, you get the families, so that's a big part of our fair,
Yeah, it's so great that it connects the people who live in cities or townships like I do with the farm, which is what we were. 100 years ago, we were all living on the farms.
Don't forget, this is an agricultural fair.
Right.
And sometimes people have a tendency to forget about that, but that's what the fair is built on, is agriculture, and we have a lot of agriculture here. I mean, for everybody to see,
And even junior fair has they have pocket pets. They have, they work on their dresses. Some of the guys in 4-H will make suits. And if you go down to that building, in building 25, and you look inside there, a lot of crafts and from our youth. But to watch like our auctions, our livestock auctions for the 4-H or for junior fair, that is very important for them. So a lot of these children use this money for their college education.
Sure.
So they generate the money from that, and and we can't thank the community and businessmen that do come in into the auctions and buy.
Right, you've got a lot of sponsors.
The other building that is the International Building, which is a free show, but there's booths there from so many different countries, and these are predominantly older folks who are really into the history of their countries, so that's a real sight to see for senior citizens, I think, to go down there. And there's always people in it, but the people from those countries will be glad to answer questions, talk to the people as they go through.
Yeah, they have the maps and they
have very interesting
clothing and things. Right. Yeah. Well, again, we've been talking with Andy Frost and Dave Dickey. They're the president and vice president, respectively, of the Canfield Fair Board. Again, the fair is going to be starting up at the end of August 31st.
22 days.
Runs through Labor Day.
Yep.
And again, if you want more information, you go to Canfield Fair, just put that into Google, and they have a nice website. We'll give you all the details. But as you say, it's something to crow about.
Yeah, and our theme this year is a family affair.
Okay.
So, it is a family affair.
So maybe
and it's something to crow about.
Bring your grandkids out to the fair. That would be nice.
Definitely.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Again, you've
Thank
been
you.
watching Senior Focus. We come to you a couple times each month through Armstrong's Channel 20 and 100. Thanks to Greg Roten. Greg is nice enough to put the show on the air. If you missed any of the show, feel free to go on demand on Armstrong or to YouTube and type in Senior Focus and Armstrong Cable. Until next time, thanks for watching.